Hello, everyone. This is Steve from A Better Life. This podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, Premium Botanical. They are the makers of Herbal Spectrum, which is a full spectrum hemp-based CBD. They make salves, liquids, and they have a great mixed berry gummy. You can check them out at www.mypbcbd.com. Now our podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, A Better Life with George and Steve. This is a special episode. This is part 2 of our interview with Jimmy Hank Pizza. George and I continue the journey with him. We hear all about Las Vegas and his first major competition. If you haven't listened to part 1, please go back an episode and listen to part 1. Thank you all for listening. And now part 2 of our interview with Jimmy Hank Pizza.
And so the next year, 2023, Vegas was the first time I competed. And I did, so they have many different categories, right? Not to get too in the weeds, you have your traditional Neapolitan, right? Which are very strict rules by the Italians. You got to use 00 flour. Your dough ball's got to be a certain weight. They actually weigh the dough ball before you make your pizza. You can only use like San Marzano tomatoes. It's got to be buffalo mozzarella, super strict. And then which other end of the spectrum is non-traditional, which anything goes. There's basically no rules. Any style, any toppings, whatever you want to do. And that's where I went because while there's also a pan competition where you can make any pan style, it was already filled up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do my pan pizza in non-traditional. So I did that. And the other cool thing about the non-traditional is they break it down by category, by region. So there's like a Northeast region. So you see where you place overall in the world or the US, whatever. But then they break it down by, so I could see like how I finished in the Northeast. So out of 92 competitors, I finished 19th in the world. And awesome. I think I was like 12th in the Northeast or something like that. It was like
amazing.
My first time trying. So that was like not that I went in with any expectation, but it was like a validation. Okay, yeah, I'm like doing something right here.
Absolutely.
And beating out some big names, like looking back at the list, I'm like, holy shit, like I placed higher than this guy or this guy. Like, not that, judging subjective and everybody can have a bad day or a good day. It is what it is.
But the cool thing about the food world, the food industry, the camaraderie is amazing. You guys compete during the day and then you hang out at night and you get to know each other on a personal level. And it seems like a really cool time.
And yeah, there's no secrets. Everybody is very humble and will share whatever they want. It's flour, water, yeast, and salt, time, temperature, and passion, right? If you got secrets, you're not doing something right. Like it's the passion and what you put into it and the process that really makes it what it is. There's no reason for secrets. The ingredients are all the same. To a point.
Same thing with barbecue. Like I could show you 100 times. You could stand with me and watch me make it. If you don't do it a lot and teach yourself the craft, it's not going to come out the same.
You respect the process, right? You respect the process.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so you went through this. You placed 19th. So when you walked away on the plane ride back from Vegas, you're saying to yourself, wow, what am I going to do now? Because there's something about success, right? It's a challenge. You like, I can't screw it up now. I can't go back and not place at least 19th. So what do I do with this? I've earned this. What do I do with it?
I was just still in the pizza for charity. Like I would do charity pop-ups in my driveway. I would post a link on my Instagram like, hey, I'm going to do 40 pizzas this Saturday. If you sign up for a time slot, come pick it up. And then I would just set up a tent in my driveway and with my unis and knock out the pizzas and then just give all the money to charity.
I like that idea. Charity barbecues. I like that idea.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is you don't have to worry about like food licensing because you're giving it away. Just ask for a donation. There's a really good charity that I've done a lot of work with. It's called Slice Out Hunger. They're like a pizza-based charity in New York. They do a lot of really great events. But yeah, it's all centered around pizza. So they will donate pizzas, or they'll work with pizza shops to donate pizzas to food pantries and things like that. But they're like all throughout the world and all throughout the country, but they're based in New York City. But yeah, so I did the charity thing for a while, and then fast forward to, let's see, I guess last summer, I met a guy through a mutual friend that my son plays basketball with his son. We were at a party. When I go to a party, I always bring a pizza. It's just what I do, because it's like any opportunity I get to make my pizza, I'll make it, because I always have dough around, or I'll have a frozen par bake in the freezer I can just pull out. Made a pizza. I made a couple pizzas, brought them over, and the guy that was there was like, this guy that I met, he was like, this is really good. He's asked my whole story, what was going on, and turns out he's starting this tap house brewery concept where he's building a kitchen, but they're going to have like a small menu, but they want to do this like guest chef takeovers where they'll have people rotate through and just take over the kitchen and do your own menu. And he was like, would that be something you'd be interested in? And I was like, yeah, that's like the perfect situation, because I had no aspirations of opening a pizza shop. No, I don't want to get into that whole thing. Like, I'm happy with my day job. My professional life's fine, but a side hustle thing where I can do it like once or twice a month, like that's perfect. So yeah, so we got to talking, worked out how it was going to happen. And I've been doing that since last fall, once a month. I did a couple twice a month, but generally once a month. I'll go in, take over the kitchen, and I'll just do my pizzas. And we sell out every time. The first night, I think we sold out in an hour and a half. I did 50 pizzas. I was like, okay, I got to get more pans now. So I bought more pans. The next time, I think I did 60, and I did some Sicilians. So I thought, hey, why don't I do slices too for the Sicilians? That way, if somebody doesn't want to buy like a whole, the Detroits are small. They're 8 by 10, but they're filling. I mean, they feed 2 to 3. So they're good for a couple to share. I was like, hey, if people don't want to buy a pizza, like a whole pizza, and they just want to slice for a snack, like this might be a good concept. So I made a couple Sicilians, and I was selling those for $5-6 a slice, depending on what was on them. And they were a huge hit. So I was like, oh shit, I got to buy more Sicilian pans. So yeah, it's fun.
It's
like I'm
never ending.
Yeah. So I'm actually, my next one, I took March off because of Expo, for Pizza Expo, because it was a crazy month, but I'm back next Friday. I'm going to be there doing pizzas.
And all these contacts you make through the ingredients and whatnot, now you're somewhat sponsored, right? You get calls from...
That's the whole thing. Go back to the whole social media thing where it really is powerful. And I would have never thought that this would happen, but and some of these brands, they're starting to think that way as well, because these guys, like some of these large cheesemakers or tomato guys, would never even give me the time of the day, or any small guy that's just making pizzas once a month. But they see this following that you have and this presence you bring online, and you can promote their product. And they're like, hey, while one of us might not be that strong, like all of us together are mighty. So like they can put together a bunch of social guys that might do pizza part-time, and we probably have more of an impact than a little, like an operator that's
sure.
Maybe he's buying 1,000 pounds of cheese every couple of weeks, but he has 200 Instagram followers. So nobody's,
and you're active, right? You're active on
Yeah.
social media. You engage with people who reach out to you, and
and that's
you're an open book.
And that's the thing. It's you share your process, and people learn how to make the pizza, and now you can get these products. It's not, you don't need like a Cisco Foods account or a US Foods account. There's many of these small cash and carry food distributors that you can just walk into and buy a 5-pound bag of cheese. Like, you don't have to buy a pallet of cheese.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize, but it's out there. You can figure it out and find them.
Let's talk about the collaborations you've done. What kind of equipment you choose to use? Who's, reaching out to you? And I mean, plug away. I mean, this is so fascinating.
Yeah,
I
can sit and ask questions all night.
I started out when I was doing the pizzas in the oven. Wasn't really even thinking about like a whole like pizza oven thing. Like, I was making my New York styles on my screen in the oven, and that was fun. And then I think it was like one of the Black Friday sales, like we see the uni ovens, and I was like, oh, maybe I should get like an uni, because they were like 30% off for Black Friday or whatever. So
For those who don't know what an uni is, can you just describe what this?
it's like an outdoor portable pizza oven. So
You hook it up
basically
to like a propane tank.
hook it up to a 20-pound grill, like standard propane grill tank.
Yep.
And these things will get up to 950 degrees Fahrenheit.
Some have wood though too. Some have wood too, or is that a different
there's some
brand?
that are multi-fuel. Some you can do wood or gas. Some you can do like pellets. Yeah, there's a ton of them out there. You got like Gosney. I think Blackstone makes a pizza oven now. It's that segment has grown, but like two of the beginning like early players were Gosney and Uni. So I landed on the Uni. I was like, that looks pretty cool. Like I went with gas because I was like, wood fire is a different animal. So like I was like, that's another variable that I don't want to really delve into now. If I can I'll get gas. That's controllable. It's easy. It's like a grill. Like you can turn the flame up and down. Wood that's with barbecue, Steve, right? Wood fire is you got to control the flame and know how to work with the fire. So
right. I have an offset smoker, so it just is. I have a box. It's been in my kitchen for way too long. I have a box sitting next to me, a pecan. I use pecan. I use hickory, and I use cherry. Yeah, I laugh because I have a guy who I'm friends with that's really a chef. He went to culinary school and he worked at Daniel's and he worked at all famous restaurants. And he came over and I was cooking barbecue, and we also had a huge stone pizza oven. So he's making these things to put in the pizza oven. I'm like, dude, this is live fire. That thing's 800, 900 degrees in there. You have no idea what you're going to deal with. And he laughed in my face. And then he was totally confused.
Yeah. So went with the gas uni and then started figuring, and that's a totally different animal, learning how to control the heat and going from the home oven to figuring that out. And then, and then fast forward.
The competition is in unis, correct?
So that was new this year. There was an uni competition this year in Vegas, which was cool because got to really show off the ovens and what they can do, which that's part of the allure is I think people, they see the oven and are like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then to actually see people cooking in them and what's coming out of them is like the next level. But yeah, so started just doing a lot of the uni stuff. And then they reached out, like, I don't know, I was probably doing it for a year or so. And they reached out, hey, you want to do some stuff together, collaboration. So I did some stuff with them. And then, just random people, some crushed red pepper companies will reach out and be like, hey, you want to try our peppers? We'll send you some. And early on, I was like, yeah, send over whatever. I'll do a post for you. Like crazy because you get so many requests and you got to rein it in. So like now it's more of a business. So it's more like, I'll try it. I won't endorse anything I don't like myself. I'm like, send it. If I like it, maybe we can work together and I'll send you my rates. And I have a whole menu of basically options for online posts that I'll send. Mm-hmm. And then if they want to do it, then I'll send them a contract. And it's a legit side hustle for social.
Amazing.
I'd like to hear more about that, but not during the podcast.
I took it a step further too. I have 2 trademarks now that it was crazy. They came back 2 days ago. It's registered now. I have the Frico King is registered and Jimmy Hank Pizza both are registered. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
These are milestones, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So what now? What's your next Mount Olympus you're going to climb?
I still have no aspirations or desire to open a shop. That's way too much work. I'm an old man. I'm going to be 50 this year.
Dude, I'm going to be 65 next month. So please.
I have 3 kids, young kids, 14, 11, and 9. They obviously there's kids sports and kids activities, and that stuff's all on the weekends and at night. And what do you have to do if you have a pizza shop? Work nights and weekends, which I don't want to do. The whole side thing with the tap house is perfect. I can feed the passion once or twice a month, do that.
Perfect for now.
I enjoy it. People love the pizza. They come out, get really good support. But then also the online stuff is doing well with endorsement things. And I have a couple products that are going to be released soon that I really can't talk about, but that's actually probably going to be in the next couple weeks. like physical, like hard products that I'm going to be selling that the whole timing with the trademark was crazy because like I decided to do this over a year ago and with the anticipation of what I was going to work on next. And it all came together. So these products are coming out now that I got my stuff registered. And then I don't know, who knows? Maybe it goes.
I would love for you to come back on when you launch your product so we can hear all about it.
I would love to, man. It's been a crazy journey, and I never would have thought something would go this far just from making pizzas on Friday night for my family.
We live in New York, so we're a little spoiled with pizza, and I used to work in the West Village.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't John's, I used to go to John's Pizza all the time, but they only sell a whole pie, and then we'd go to Joe's, which you could get sliced in the corner of Carmine.
Mm-hmm.
And then an old friend of mine, who I don't know any longer, I'm not sure if he passed or whatever, he owned Grimaldi's. I was pizza spoiled. And there's some good places in Westchester. I mean, for Sicilian, it's Sal's and Mamaroneck, without a doubt. And then there's Johnny's in Mount Vernon. That's pain in the butt to go to.
The parking situation's terrible.
I know George has sent me pictures of Johnny's before too. Yeah, it looks really good.
It's fantastic.
So there's a place where I grew up in New Jersey called Kinchley's. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, I haven't.
But they go back till like the 1920s. And they do a thin crust pizza. Boy, you can't get in the place. I always tell George we're going to go one day, but we barely get to places around here, and more or less go to places a little farther away. But Kinchley's is amazing. So
nice.
It's funny because there's a Westchester pizza group on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I got barred from it. And I never was so angry. And because what I did was we talked about pizza almost the entire podcast. And I just posted the podcast, the link to the podcast, and the guy threw me out of the group.
Yeah, they're ruthless on those Facebook groups, man.
Yeah, and I told George, he put the idea in my head. I told George that I was going to open like the Real People's Westchester Pizza Group, but I can't be bothered with that. I'm already taking too much crap from the antique phonograph collectors group. Everyone's in my face.
Oh my God. Those groups are like an animal of themselves. It's so funny how those morph into different directions and people are just going after people. And yeah, it's wild.
I mean, everyone's got an opinion, right? It's
100%. Yeah.
And everyone's very courageous. You hide behind your screen and you just type away but it's all in good fun, I guess. So,
but also with pizza, everybody thinks they're an expert, right?
Oh, it's like a religion.
Everybody has a favorite pizza place. I don't care where you are, especially if you have kids. You can't tell me that if you have kids in a bind, you don't get a pizza. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Just like when George and I did the podcast when we were in a bind, we ordered pizza. But he has many, but not for anything. The Hartsdale House of Pizza, the guy's obsessed. And I heard about that a lot. I don't really know him, but people go in there and say, "Oh, I heard you on our podcast." But I've never told him that it's our podcast when I go in there and buy pizzas.
Right.
And he's very close to here. So I order online and they deliver because it's so close. The pizza comes perfectly hot. And but George went in there one day when he was dying, and I met him at lunch, and he like ordered all these slices. And what was the one you had that had the hot honey on it? What was that one? Do you remember?
I want to say that was a Detroit style with the pepperoni and hot honey.
Yeah, but it had other stuff, some kind of weirdo cheese on it too.
Yeah, I think it might have been like a ricotta or something. But they do some funky pies, and they also do their standards, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well,
but
when I went to school in Italy, I used to eat regular pie with I guess it was with prosciutto and something else on it, and I used to eat it almost every day. But
that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, it's cool that, like you said, George, there's this pizza renaissance that I think people, and I think it came out of the pandemic too, where people started exploring how to make pizza better at home. And now that goes back to the thing where there's no secrets, where, a rising tide kind of lifts all boats, right? So, now these homemakers are like, they're like, oh, like I can make a pretty damn good pizza at home, almost better than my place down the street. I'm going to start looking for a better place down the street. And these guys that aren't evolving their game or being left in the dust, because there's going to be another guy that a home guy like me is going to be like, oh shit, I want to do this for real and open a shop, and I love it and I'm into the craft, and then they're just going to kill it. Yeah, it's wild that somebody can basically learn how to make pizza at home and then take it to a crazy level and get really into the weeds on it.
Excellent. There you have it, guys. Jim, thanks so much for coming on our podcast, talk about your passion. Steve, Jim's also a golfer, so we could talk about golf all you want. We should actually go out sometime this summer and play around with the boys.
Yeah,
but
it's funny. I found a group of 80-year-old men that want me to play with them, so I'm hoping that I can keep stride with these guys. They're all former detectives from Yonkers, and they play on Saturday morning at 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
I'm hoping it at Saturday morning at 6 a.m., 80-year-old guys I'm going to be able to keep up with a little bit. But I bet you that's not true. I used to play. My friend, so where I used to work, everybody was Irish. I worked for this law firm. Everybody was Irish. I mean, like old school where we represented IRA guys. And so I started playing with this Long Island Gaelic golf club. And you realize that our Italians are not meant to play golf because these Irish guys are like born and bred. It like flows in their blood.
Yeah.
And you have guys that, play almost their age and they're like 80. I mean, they can't hit the ball far, but everything they hit is so dead on. And it's just amazing that some people have it and people like me just don't.
Let's get around together and we'll talk more about our passion, cooking, all sorts of things. But again, thanks, Jim. This has been excellent.
Anytime you want to come back, you just tell us and we'll be glad to do it.
The pleasure is mine. It was a lot of fun. I love doing these things, and I could talk for hours if you want to start talking pizza. So
thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're probably going to split this up into 2 episodes. I think we're going to milk it for everything it's worth.
No worries.
Please feel free to put it out there on your social media about our podcast. We would love to have them.
Oh, yeah, I will for sure. Yeah.
All right. So we'll send you a link.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Thanks so much,
a lot.
Jim.
All right. Thanks, man.
Appreciate your expertise.
All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
Wow.
That was great. Inside, awesome. Right? Inside look into a local guy starting to make pizza at home for his family, then to the neighbors, then to the neighborhood, all the way till Vegas to a international pizza competition. And then it morphs into phone calls here and there from suppliers, from equipment manufacturers. And it just goes to show the power of social media and
absolutely
your passion. It's transferred. You know he's genuine. He has true passion for the craft, respect for the craft, and just constantly working on his technique.
Absolutely. It really was something. It's great to hear that somebody's passion, even with kids and even with a home oven, and I feel it because that's how I started in barbecue. I was out somewhere tonight and somebody made pulled pork and I tasted it. It was great. And 3 of the guys said, listen, one night you got to talk Steve into cooking ribs for us. And I know you had my ribs, but they weren't the high-end one. That was one where I was thinking about what Jim said, and it's exactly what happened to me, is that when I cooked it, I did things different that time I made the ribs for us, and they didn't come out as good. And I was so unhappy with it because you spent all this time and didn't get the truest quality of the product. And I pull out my book that I write everything down in for 5 years now, probably. And I see, oh, I didn't do this. I didn't do that.
The passion comes through. It's delicious, but you're the one who knows the nuances to your system, right? That it was lacking here, lacking there. But at the end of the day,
people tell you how great it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it sucks.
At the end of the day, it's the joy of feeding friends and sharing your craft with others. That's the bottom line. It's always appreciated, and I know that when I cook, it's appreciated as well, and that's what keeps it going.
I agree. Anything else new we need to talk about?
I was laser focused on talking to Jim about his journey, and what a story, huh?
What a story.
Yeah.
It just motivates me to work harder at what we do
Right,
ourselves,
right.
because that motivation's always been there for me ever since I started cooking barbecue. Ever since, I always wanted to be more involved in a podcast or something like that, and we've been doing it. It's got to be closing in on 6 months now.
Right.
We started, I think, in October, maybe the end of September, and it's first week, second week of April. And
So, yeah, we break it down into 10 episode seasons. We're on our second season,
right,
episode 8. It's a really cool journey, man. This is really a lot
it's
of
great.
fun.
And you know what? It forces us to be more aware and more out there. And one thing we became committed to, George and I talked to everyone out there, is that to do more interviews like this, to bring
Right.
things from outside, so the listeners could learn more about the things that really impress us,
Yeah,
and the things, and we're not impressed by ourselves at all. So we have to find people that impress us.
But we're also going to take this podcast on the road, right? We're going to go to restaurants.
Absolutely.
We're even talking about, just today, we're talking about going to check out the pastrami place that just opened in Ardsley, maybe sometime this week. And
Yeah.
we'll have another episode talking about the Jewish miracle that is pastrami sandwiches.
And of course, the same thing happened when I made pastrami for George, and we've talked about it, that he was able to take it and turn it into something good with cabbage. But my pastrami is usually dead on, and this one wasn't. I changed what I did, and I changed more than one thing.
You went from outdoor to indoor. You seasoned it, you marinated it a little longer than usual, and things change. But the beauty of cooking is it's all active, it's live. You adapt, and because it was so strong and so pungent, we just added some cabbage, some carrots, and we made a beautiful pastrami stew.
Yeah. I have been able to work out the smoker's now going to be moved to a place where it's going to be easier to use. And there definitely is a fundraiser that I've been asked to cook for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely going to do that. And it's funny that came up tonight. And also where it's going to be, there's a commercial kitchen. So we can prep, I say, because I know I'm going to drag George there. And I have others there that are dying to cook with me or us. And we can prep it. I don't have to carry it. I don't have to come from my apartment and do all those things. You're going to be able to do it right there, which reduces the stress. And when you reduce the stress of the cooking,
you focus more on the cooking.
It's going to improve everything. And people are going to come because it's a public place, somewhat public place. It's a private club. But people are going to come and sit with you when you're cooking. So you're going to be able to hopefully not get distracted, but it's going to relieve
it's good
that
interaction. Absolutely.
by yourself. Of course, they're going to want food too. But what do you think of the software?
I love it.
I can't believe I didn't have I thought the video was on and it isn't. So it's just audio only.
I'm running this through my iPhone. I think the audio should come out very nice and crisp. So, yeah, man, this is taking advantage of all the technology out there.
So what it does, and we talked about this last time, is it'll upload, like it keeps telling me, don't worry about George's audio because a perfect quality has been uploaded to his phone, and from the phone it'll get uploaded to the cloud, and then it'll sync in and pick the best audio.
Right.
So I'm seeing now it's 99% uploaded. I have to tell you, I am tempted to do a live stream. I don't know. We have to give some thought to that. Do we do it on Instagram? Do we do it on Facebook? Do we do it on YouTube?
I mean, all these platforms. Right? They're all primed.
So I don't know if we do one ourselves first and then have somebody on just so we could do it. But I really believe that this would have been a great live stream. And I think what we should do is we're going to separate this interview into 2 categories, 2 episodes. and then talk, and then have other parts of our episode about other things we did, like whether we
Sure.
do restaurants or
Sure.
whatever. Call it there?
Yeah, that's a wrap.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We always appreciate how kind you are to us and take the time and
The
listen to
feedback's
us.
been great. Thank you so much.
Feedback's been great. People stop me where I'm out somewhere. Obviously, I know them and say, when's the next podcast coming out? And it always just blows my mind. So
To all our followers, thank you.
Thank you to everybody. Subscribe, do everything. Send us information you'd like us to do. We'd love to have it.
All right.
For me, have a nice night, George.
Absolutely. Have a nice night, everyone, and stay tuned.
More to come.
All right.
George and Steve. Thanks.